With me is the Vice President of the European Investment Bank. I am here in Luxembourg and welcome to WION. Ma'am, my first question to you is about the European Investment Bank and its role in projects in India. If you can talk about it, if you can shed some light on it.
First, thank you that you are interested in the European Investment Bank. The European Investment Bank is engaged in India since 1993. We did invest about 5.5 billion euros so far in the last years, with a huge emphasis on decarbonization, so in energy, renewable energy, on transport, and also on all what is helping people, so water projects, especially when it comes up to water, water quality of drinking water. The largest engagement of the European Investment Bank in India is about decarbonization of public transport, especially when it comes to railway, suburban and urban ones. Here we invested 3.6 billion euros, and I think this is the maybe best example to show how we really try to have, with our partners on the ground here in India, an impact for citizens. Because of course, if you have this public transport, then first you are traveling faster because you do not have the traffic jams. You have a safe access for all kinds of citizens, especially but for vulnerable groups like women or handicapped. They can travel safer and they have access, quicker access also to working places, education places all over a city or a region. So for us this is very important that this comes together and is then in this kind answering the need of fast growing cities and regions like you have it in India.
Moving to the larger global south, now the role of the European Investment Bank in the global south, if you can shed some light on it, the projects you have been involved in the global south.
Also for the common global south, it is for us important that we deliver with the projects on the better life conditions of the citizens, and that we do it together with partners on the ground, but we come merely with the European family, which means that we, in the context of the Team Europe approach, we come as a European anchor investor, but we often bring then other financial institutions, for example, from the member states, or we are cooperating, for example, with the Asian Developing Bank to bring better living conditions for drinking water, living conditions for health. So investing in a huge amount, especially in vaccine development, health condition and infrastructure, in better mobility on the ground, and in renewable energy, so that you have really affordable and safe energy around all the places of persons.
Climate change, it is another big issue. How is the European Investment Bank helping the world in terms of dealing with it? In fact, India has a program called CDRI. It is basically deals with disaster resilient infrastructure. It's basically Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So essentially examples like this I want to quote to talk about how the bank is making sure that there are infrastructure who are resilient to climate change. And what are you doing in terms of making the world much more prepared when it comes to dealing with climate change?
Thank you very much for the question, because we, as the Climate Bank of European Union, are of course heavily engaged in climate action. We have a goal every year to at least have investments of 50% of what all the business we are doing related to climate action, and we always overcoming it. And especially in the global south, our investments are merely 90% for climate action or climate adaptation. And so for us it's important that what we do and what we build with our projects is resilient. So for example, that we reduce the risk of drought for people, so that this is helping in agriculture, but also it's a prevention, for example, for fire and other climate-related crises all over different places. That we help to have more circularity projects, so that you are having, for example, good quality drinking water, but also then having a management system for the water, which is then also related to wastewater and sewage. So also to recycle the water, for example, for industry purposes, and to prevent diseases. Because if you do not have a managed and treatment system, then there will come up diseases with the wastewater, which is then a health issue for a lot of people, especially in growing urban situations. So this is then also related to climate, but in the same time, having a positive impact on the life and the better life for citizens.
Ma'am, my last question to you is, now we know that there is cutting off of aid and support to many developing countries with the change of guard in Washington. Now, do you think that the European Investment Bank has to take a much more greater lead in terms of providing support to the global south? And you also mentioned that 90% of your investments now go to the global south. So if you can also give examples of major projects by the European Investment Bank in the global south.
Where 90% of the investment in the global south were climate related. But you're totally right. A lot of challenges we have are not European or Indian or global south challenges. These are challenges for the whole globe. So we have to act in partnership. And European Investment Bank is stepping up this investment. We got a top up from our stakeholders, shareholders, so the 27 member states. We can do more business. We can especially also do more business outside European Union. So we will not only continue to be invested, but we will also increase our investments, not only in the global south, but also in the global south. And I think this is heavily important, that we look how we can bring the strengths of different regions in a partnership together, how we can be interrelated, because if you have building up strong relationships, strong friendships, then this is a better world than you install very complicated, isolating structures around the globe.
My final question, you talked about partnership. How do you see India as a partner?
India is a very important partner, especially for the European Union. You are a very well-skilled, very rapidly increasing and developing country with citizens which are very creative. The demand, especially for such skilled persons all over the globe, is very high. But I think we should look about partnerships which give win-win situations for India and also for Europe. So we always, with our projects, want to have these advantages on both sides, to invest in a better way of life for citizens all over the globe, here in India, but also for a better future for all generations to come. And so we look not only also on India, but also on the whole region. And I think there India is really a leader in the region, but a leader should be a leader on fair conditions, especially when it comes to interconnectivity of energy projects, of mobility projects, transport questions, and international trade. And we really hope with the upcoming Indian-EU summit that we will foster this common partnership for the sake of a whole region and for the sake of the citizens in India.
On that note, thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to WION here in Luxembourg and giving us details about not only just the European Investment Bank and India, but also European Investment Bank and the Global South. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.